But yeah, the thing with WoW is like, so WoW is they're bringing out this season of mastery, and I didn't really get the chance to talk about this a whole lot. Basically, what that's going to be is Blizzard has decided that they want a new season of Classic WoW, fresh Classic WoW. In my opinion, I think that they just want fresh subs. The opportunity to start fresh is coming to WoW Classic. Greetings, adventurers. WoW Classic Season of Mastery is coming, giving all players a chance to start fresh and level with a level playing field. This time around, we are planning #slightly more changes. We will launch new Classic WoW realms for Season of Mastery. These realms invite new and current Classic players to begin fresh at level 1 for a complete reset of Classic's content, starting again at the very beginning of the Warcraft saga. So basically, they're just resetting Classic servers from Phase 6 down to Phase 1, right? That's effectively what's happening. And so what's different? As the first release of WoW Classic, we're planning 6 content release patches. In WoW Classic Season of Mastery, however, phase unlocks will happen faster. We're planning for a 12-month cadence, with phases unlocking roughly every couple of months. Here's the current outline for the 6 phases. So this is going to be Phase 1. So this is like whenever the game comes out. It's going to have Molten Core, it's going to have Onyxia, it's going to have Maraudon, and it's going to have the PvP and the Battleground, like the honor system. Phase 2 is going to be Dire Maul, Azergos, and Kha'Zix. I think that's pretty much to be expected. Phase 3 is going to be Darkmoon Fair and Blackwing Lair. So, okay. Phase 4 is going to be ZG and the Green Dragons. So that's like Lethon, Emerus, Terriar, and Yasandra. You know, those are the world bosses too. Phase 5 is going to be, wait, they're resetting Classic? Yeah. It's going to be the AQ War Effort, and also just like the AQ Raid, and Phase 6 is going to be Nax, right? Same as it was. So I think the content cadence is good, especially for it being a 1-year thing. Are they re-releasing a game? Is this Bethesda? Yeah, it's going to be called World of Warcraft Classic Skyrim. Anyway, they are also updating the raid bosses, and they're changing things with the raid bosses. The original release of WoW Classic was made to recreate the difficulty and challenge of patch point 112 in the original Warcraft release. While we strive for a faithful recreation of that release, many raid encounters turned out to be easier than the first time around, and players were simply more experienced and prepared, and patch updates greatly increased player power. With that in mind, we're planning a few changes to make those early raid bosses pack a bit more of a punch, and attempt to recapture the original, like, basically make the bosses as hard as people remembered them, effectively, right? So what they're doing to make that happen is they're disabling world buffs in raids, which is a big deal. This is something a lot of people have wanted, and some people had not wanted. We'll talk about that. And they're going to be also restoring mechanics that were removed early on in some raid bosses, and they're going to be removing the boss debuff limit. And I think this is a very good thing, especially for classes like Shadow Priests and classes like Affliction Warlocks, where it became much more of a frustrating thing to have a debuff limit on the boss. And also they're going to just increase the amount of health on the bosses to offset player buffs. I think an example of a classic WoW mechanic that was removed that I think should not exist is the mechanic where whenever you were fighting Ragnaros, your weapons would lose durability faster. I think this is not a good mechanic. It's badly designed. And I think another example of this from TBC is whenever Lady Vosh would mind control the main tank. I think this is just a basically like a mechanic, and the way that a mechanic occurs, the RNG can either be this is like a raid wipe problem, or this is not an issue at all. Like, I don't think that a mechanic should have that level of variance in RNG of its impact in the raid. Makes you want to bring engineers for repair bot? No, it just makes me not want to play the game. The thing is, like, there are a lot of examples of things that create more of an RPG feel, but are not fun to play. And I think that there are many cases like that where there are many games and things like this that focus on realism or focus on an idealized version of the way that players will consume content, rather than a realistic perspective on, like, how people approach video games. And I think that most people would probably agree with me. And I think that a lot of people that might not, you would probably watch them do Molten Core 2 or 3 times, and then they would just stop doing it because it's annoying to them. They might not even know why it's annoying to them, but I can guarantee you that's a factor. Like, these are not, like, this is not fun. Like, I don't find this fun. This is not like a test of skill for me. This is just an added level of complexity that just creates annoyance. Like, let's compare 2 different things. Let's look at a PoE season, and let's look at a new season of Classic WoW. New PoE season, you're going to have rebalancing, like massive rebalancing. You're having new content that's added into the game that's completely different than what existed previously. You're changing the content, you're changing the balance, you're changing acquisition methods, you're changing spells, you're changing all this stuff, right? And this is all happening in every PoE league, which is why people continue playing each PoE league, is because the experience that you have in each one is different. I think that fundamentally the experience that you're going to have in Classic WoW, the Season of Mastery, is going to be effectively about the same experience that you were going to have in the original Classic WoW. It's still going to be a best idea to play a warrior if you want to tank. It's still going to be a good idea to play a warrior if you want a DPS. It's still going to be a bad idea to play a paladin if you want a DPS. It's still going to be a bad idea to play a moonkin if you want a DPS, etc. So a lot of the previous imbalances and previous problems with the game, while they were exacerbated and made worse by world buffs, of course, because like warriors scale multiplicatively with world buffs in a way that other classes don't, like a rep paladin, they will still beat the top damage. Like warriors will still be top damage. It doesn't really matter. You're going to see a lot of the same comps. You're going to see a lot of the same content, etc. It's like I don't really want to go and play Classic WoW and have Nax take 3 hours instead of 2. This is just not a compelling thing for me. Wow, it's going to take us longer to kill the boss that has one mechanic because it has a lot of health. Okay, cool. Now it's dead. Now let's go do the trash mobs. Oh, well, taunt got resisted. Trash mob killed somebody. Now we've got to res them. Okay. It just takes fucking forever to do any of this shit, man. Like, in my opinion, I put out that list of like all the classic changes that I wanted and all the things that I wanted Blizzard to add in Classic. And until they add all those things, or at least some of those things, I'm not really going to be that excited about the game. It sounds lazy and desperate for subs. Spoiled by Final Fantasy XIV. I think that it is lazy and desperate, number one. I think that number two, I have been spoiled by Final Fantasy. To play Final Fantasy and to progress on a boss and not have my time wasted arbitrarily for no reason at all in between pulls, and then be able to go and play Burning Crusade and lose 20 minutes in between every pull, 10 minutes between every pull, for no reason other than game design decisions, this is not fun for me. I don't like wasting time. I hate wasting time, and I feel like this is weird because I play video games all day, but whenever I feel like I'm wasting time on a video game, my enthusiasm of that game goes like this. It just immediately goes down. I don't care about it anymore at all. You should be punished for failing? That's fine, but like, I don't want to play cock and ball torture as a video game. I don't want to be punished in a video game. I just want to play a video game and enjoy it. I don't play 50 Shades of Grey, the MMO. This is not what I want to do. This is like, if I'm being punished and I'm losing time, I am now having less fun playing the game. Like, in my opinion, the game is about mastery. It's not about time. So the goal with the game and with an encounter in my mind is to master the encounter and master the mechanics of the encounter. So any time that you spend not doing that in the time frame that you're trying to complete the boss is just a waste of time. Why would I waste my time playing a game that punishes me for trying to learn how to play the game? Yeah, it's just weird, man. Like, there are some people that play like these old MMOs and these like so-called real gamers, which, by the way, are probably some of the worst players that you've ever encountered. They're always fucking garbage. And they have this romanticized views behind wasting their time in a video game. It's insane. And like, what's funny is that people think that I did backpedal. I said whenever Classic was going to come out, I said that I had expected that the game would be popular for a couple of months and then I would go back to retail WoW. And I made this statement before Classic WoW even released. And a lot of people got really mad at me. And I got like shit talked. I was like, oh, you're like a fake Classic player, etc. And it just... like, exactly what I said was going to happen happened, and people think that I changed my opinion. Like, no, everybody else did. I was the only person who didn't. I thought this was going to happen. You know how many streamers are pushing for Classic servers, dude? Oh, I think the Classic servers are great. I think that they're a really good thing, and I'm very glad Classic WoW happened. I think Classic WoW was great for Blizzard, and it's good for the game as a whole. Just because I don't want to play it ad nauseum on repeat for the next 10 years of my life doesn't mean that I didn't think the experience was good. And I also said that people were going to clear the raids in like the first day, and there weren't even going to be any wipes on most bosses, and that was true too. And people got mad at me for it. It was just funny to see that happen. And then whenever I said that about Molten Core, people said wait till BWL. Whenever I said that about BWL, people said wait till AQ. Whenever I said it about AQ, they said wait till Nax. And it was just, the whole thing was easy. Just like I said, I think Classic WoW was great for what it was. It was exactly what I had kind of hoped that it would be. And that's about it, right? Like, I'm happy. Like, that's all I need to see. Sometimes I think about getting back onto WoW and playing WoW again. But as I said, I don't want to play a game where, like, I'm getting patronized by, like, I don't want to play a fantasy game that I know is just a reflection of the developers' worldviews. I find it like it like kind of takes the fantasy away from me. It's like I'm no longer in a fantasy game anymore. It's almost like I feel like I'm being used. So yeah, I don't like. It's like the immersion is kind of gone because you have these things, and obviously, like these people, they believe that all fantasy worlds are fundamentally political in a way, or fundamentally make statements because of the nature that they either make a statement against the status quo by not making a statement, or against the status quo by making a statement, or they make a statement for the status quo by not making a statement. I find this just to be a rationalization to inject their own personal opinions into the content, and I do not think this is true. I don't think this is true at all. I think this is just a way to create parody, which allows them to justify their behavior, which is just not true. WoW removed /fart, etc. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff from fantasies were escape for real life. Exactly. Yeah, I just don't like it. I can SJWs in my video game. Yeah, I don't want people that take a video game and then they use it as like a vehicle to promote whatever personal agenda they have. It's not enjoyable for me, especially I think also like this is a big factor, is whenever they do that to something that exists initially versus they create something of their own. So I think that most people are completely fine with somebody who wants to make any political statement in any game or anything like that, and they make their own IP and they make their own content, etc. And they do that by themselves. But I think what a lot of us, this is maybe just me talking, but I think a lot of people agree with me. I think what a lot of people really take issue with is whenever you have somebody that takes an existing franchise or an existing IP and then they change and mold that IP to have a different message or to include their message that they're trying to use this content or this world, this fantasy, to be a vehicle to deliver. And I think that's what a lot of people don't like. That's the main thing. It's not necessarily doing it in itself. It's co-opting spaces where it was not initially there and then changing it to where it is. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.